Rescue Ace really seems to be taking the lead out here, and 60 card piles have never looked more interesting. Hey, Tetsu had a pretty amazing turnout here, but make sure you guys smash the little crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more awesome content. 5 Rescue Ace take to the lead here, showcasing to us that, maybe this deck is a little bit more ahead of its time here. The innovations of the Auroradon package in this deck are pretty much so far ahead of things that it's kind of crazy. Now, on the follow-up, we also have Labyrinth here. Do keep in mind the Labyrinth did get the fantastic new lines of support that, aimed to make the deck more toxic? Yeah, more toxic. Being able to set the normal trap card turn 1 of the game no matter, what you open, and then basically be able to detour and tear your opponent apart through it is pretty disgusting. Now, this tournament had something a little bit interesting, and it was 2 60-card pile decks. These are decks that typically take advantage of the huge deck size. Most of you are pretty common with this because Grass Looks Greener is one of those little cards that you can play that tends to make the world go round for these styles of decks. And then we actually have Dium out here as well. Dium actually kind of pushing the meta a little bit further along here than I initially kind of expected. Actually, kind of thought the deck would get a little bit more of a push in terms of metagame representation, but it is lacking a wee little bit. Then we also had Tier Elements. This deck just... It's starting to see a lot less play, and I know a lot of people are like, finally, Tier's disappearing, but it's held on for a very long time. And then we had Exosister kind of bringing up the rear here as well. I'm actually very excited to still see that deck doing good. Punk package still actually holding it together for a 40-card variant for this tournament. And then we also had Sword Soul as well, kind of bringing up the rear here as well. So, I mean, overall, Rescue Ace kind of feels like it's become so much further ahead of like the rest of the meta that I don't really know. It's something else. Let's pass it on over to deck list. Starting things off here, we are going to have Rescue Ace here. We're playing the Little Witch package in here, and actually the most interesting about this is we're not going down the crazy Auroradon ways that we'd seen a lot of people kind of pushing about. No, this build's just going to be using, the Dium Star package to facilitate access to the Hydrant, and then, since you've upped your consistency for, guess what, fire type support, then you're able to go off and get the chance to win the game a whole lot easier. I'm actually very surprised to see that this variant has done so well. Then we have Labyrinth out here, sporting off 0, and I'm going to say that again, 0 copies of the new support, actually. You figured that you would look at the new support and you'd be like, oh, okay, well, maybe we play the new Labyrinth here. No. They're maximizing on triple Typhoon, though. Typhoon is a ridiculous card, man. Like, that card does so much more than should actually be allowed for modern era cards, and they can make 3 of them in here. Cool stuff. Now, this is what I was talking about. This is the Auroradon version of Rescue Ace, where they essentially start the whole climbing process, set up these relatively large, annoying boards, and, I mean, when you can access Baron de Flor, the Borreload Savage, and put these monsters on the field, and your opponent looks at you and they're like, how'd you get to that point? And you're just like, well, with the new support, my deck has become even more consistent. But once again, we had the control variant actually edging out on top of this. Tier Elements. Tier did manage to push its way on into a relatively strong finish here. And you do see that we are playing the SP Little Knight and the Typhoon in here as well. Once again, both these new cards have added such a crazy level of dynamic here. Releasing 2 extra deck staples in the same set not only pushes the, meta push so much further ahead of things, it's genuinely interesting just to see, how the meta can hold this down. Alright, now, this is one of our 60-card packages in here. This is where you take the Punk, the Thunder Dragon, the Bysteel, the Assault Synchron, good stuff. And actually, I think the thing that's best about this is the fact that Dium Star has become such a card that has allowed the thriving and support of, these archetypes. It's actually pretty good. So, can we do the 60-card piles? No, we can't, but this is still something that, if you're playing there, you need to be aware of. More Rescue Ace. Now, this build, once again, we're not going down the Auroradon shenanigans here. That, you're probably like, well, maybe we should still consider. No. Control variant checks out again. So both variants kind of look like they're fighting each other here for a spot, at least in terms of the top end of things. Double Super Poly, once again, Typhoon checking out. And yes, we are playing the Camellia in here as well for the Sky Striker package. Okay, next up here is our Exosister deck. You know, the biggest things in here, SP Little Knight, we are playing the Typhoon in here as well. But the main deck is pretty standard at this point in time, except for we are accessing Ultimate Slayer right now. It's the first time in forever that I've seen Ultimate Slayer actually look like a semi-relevant meta card again. And I mean, depending on what your opponent sets up, you know, having the Ultimate Slayer to be able to clear it, especially for the link value, might actually get you there. And then, of course, we have some Mana Dium back here. We are playing the new Synchro Crimson Dragon support card. Does get you the ability for the Monster Reborn. And then, of course, I mean, the whole process of this deck now is Ultimaya Bishibolkin, toggle into the Calamity, and then your opponent can't actually play the game. It's a whole new unfair process to the game. And, you know, once you kind of establish this crazy thing, yeah, it will get a lot done. Now, we also have more Punk down here. Now, this is playing the Nemesis Corridor package to make the Thunder Dragon Colossus. Y'all forget, the Thunder Dragon Colossus is still allowed there, which means you can still do all these crazy little lines of innovation, kind of make it there. And Punk is going to be no stranger to this, all right? You're still going to be able to take full advantage of all of the different combo variations and things that you could do. Shout out once again to Typhoon here, being such a good card, man. And then we have our next Fire Hydrant deck. The biggest thing with this, once again, we're back on that Auroradon package. You're able to access the Extra Deck, the Excel Synchro, the Dawn Dragster, whatever form of negate that you need to have on the field in order to protect that investment to make sure that you can get that Hydrant to stick is good. And once again, you see that Dium Bellstar package in here, upping the consistency of those level 1 fire monsters. Robbie, you've said the same thing over and over again. Yes, we're going to learn this. We're going to learn why this is good. And then we have Labyrinth. Now, those main deck ratios are extremely weird, but we are playing 3 of the new Labyrinth card, and yes, they're on double dimensional barrier, double a pointer of the Red Lotus. So yes, they are doing a pointer shenanigans during the opponent's turn. I can only imagine how disgusting that is to get a pointer during your opponent's turn. I was built opted to not play Typhoon, which I suppose is fine at the end of the day. It just depends on, you know, how the rest of the consistency kind of goes here. All right, our Sword Soul Synchro package. Once again, we see that Auroradon combo down here doing a lot of work. And now, this build is also playing the Dium Bellstar package. Man. Just getting the free yeet to be able to deploy a relatively strong monster. It's the Modern Era Dark Magician that doesn't suck, actually. To see that the Dium Bellstar package has been splashed in other things now as well? Very, very interesting. Another one of these synchro big old piles here. This actually pretty much is similar to what we saw earlier, but this build is... Oh my gosh, the things you can do with this. The whole Chaos Ruler package, the whole Colossus inclusion in here. We're also playing Trap Eater down here. I don't know what else to really say about this. I actually think that when you start to see, you know, these clash of engines and the amount of consistency that is being brought to the table because of this, it's pretty crazy. And then, hey, we have Mana Dium on the back end here. Looks pretty similar to what we were working with earlier. Once again, you do see that we are playing the new spell for the Monster Reborn. You are seeing that we are trying to make King Calamity during the opponent's turn. And I also see that we are playing Chicken Game down here in the side deck with Ancient Fury Dragon and Colossal Fighter. I suppose if your opponent max saves you can do the Colossal Fighter, attempt to deck your opponent out, but you know how many people have forgotten that that's actually a thing that you can do in the modern era? Interesting. Yes, our next beautiful pile of cards. Once again, we're not main decking any of the new Labyrinth cards. So the new Labyrinth card kind of feels like a little bit of a hit or miss for some builds. I also see that we are playing the Typhoon and the Little Knight in here as well, maximizing on 1 skill drain as per usual, and we are on the Pot of Extravagance package as well. Maybe they just didn't have time to get more Typhoons, and they valued some other things in the extra deck, because they are playing the Unchained package. I could kind of see how that could kind of get messed up with the Pot of Extravagance. And our last list here is another version of Diabellstar Rescue Ace, once again featuring the Auroradon. So we were on a 3 Auroradon build and then 2 Auroradon less builds, but the Auroradon less build actually ended up coming out on top and winning. So very interesting to see where we need to start preparing for, you know, October for Age of Overlord here. Obviously, we can't do the Auroradon less, or the Auroradon stuff, but still interesting nonetheless. So please, leave a comment about what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Peace out. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.